Michael Anfield here, and thank you for joining me. So here we are on a Wikipedia page, Theobroma cacao, also called the cacao tree and the cocoa tree. And so, cacao, we understand is the cacao seed that is made into chocolate. Chocolate liqueur, cacao solids, cacao butter, or chocolate and chocolate. And as the name implies, Theobroma cacao is the scientific name or the actual name for cacao, the cacao plant, or cocoa, however they pronounce it. So this has theobromine in it, which is a neurotoxin. Okay. And it does have the theobromine, which is a neurotoxin. So basically, let's talk about this for a bit, the cacao. There, I just went blank for a second there, so I don't know what I was thinking about. But anyways, let's talk about the cacao. So most cacao, as it's mentioned below, this is how the cacao, by the way, looks. So when you actually look at the inside of it, that's how it looks. And the seeds are a purple color inside. So it's not brown or black as it is when you ferment it and when you cook it. So cultivation these are the seeds. Okay. But this is where the cocoa comes from, mostly from the Ivory Coast. This is 2007 production. Ivory Coast, it's 2 million tons. In Ghana, it's almost 900,000 tons. And followed by Indonesia, which is almost 700,000 tons. And Nigeria falling behind to over 300,000 tons. And of course, the rest. And this is by United Nations, so I don't know if this is really correct, but in any case, Ivory Coast was 38% of total, as you can see down here. So what this means is there's a film called The Dark Side of Chocolate. It's a documentary in 2010 about the exploitation and slave trading of African children to harvest chocolate. So it's created by a few people here, actually. Directed and produced by and edited by this person, as you can see there. So really understanding that chocolate is it's slave production. Now, of course, buying your phone and buying your computer is slave too. But unfortunately, all computers and all cell phones are slave made. If possible, buy a used cell phone. So that is one thing that you can do, is buy a used one, possibly buy a used one. And if possible, if there is a chance to get one made that's not slave made, that's good. But most likely you won't find one. And how many cell phones and computers do we buy? Now, I know many people buy one like every year or one every so many years. They keep updating and keep buying new ones. But if we buy one every so many years or every decade, that's good. We don't have to buy too many. And in fact, if we're promoting veganism, then it's necessary to have a computer promoting veganism through YouTube or elsewhere. But if we're using the computer just to play games and watch movies, and we're not vegan, and we're exploiting, and we're buying chocolate every single day that's from slave children, that's a bad thing. So that's the thing. We eat food every single day, and we eat chocolate. Some people eat chocolate every single day, if that. And so we understand that there's slave labor involved in making the chocolate. Don't forget, a lot of chocolate even has dairy in it, milk, which we know it exploits non-human animals. So go do your research on that, or you can read my books for more information on the dairy industry. And no matter what, no matter how kindly they treat the animals, almost always they steal the baby away from the mother. And of course, eventually they kill the mother anyways, between 3 and 5 years, when dairy cows can live at least 20 years. So it's not only exploitation to human children, but to other animals as well. So another thing about chocolate, cacao, is that I remember when I used to eat it, it was really terrible for me. I used to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And I used to be so addicted, and a lot of people are addicted to chocolate. They eat tons and tons of chocolate. I can eat literally like one chocolate bar in like matter of like minutes, if that. Or I used to be able to eat it in a matter of minutes. I loved chocolate so much back in the days, and I just ate and ate and ate and ate. And there's reasons why I loved it so much. First of all, it's because dairy is so addicting. Dairy has a substance, a natural substance called casomorphine. And casomorphine is a natural substance that comes from the dairy mothers to entice the calf to keep coming back to suckle on her mother in order to gain a lot of weight. So the calf gains so much weight. In fact, a lot of people that eat dairy products, that's why they're gaining a lot of weight, because that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to make the calves double his or her size in like a short period of time. And when you think about it, casomorphine, look at the name, morphine. It's a drug. It's a natural hormone. It's a drug. Again, that keeps the baby wanting to come back for more and more and more and more. Casomorphine. So literally, dairy is a drug. That's why people are so addicted to it. Another thing it has, it's too acidic for our bodies. So literally, we consume dairy or any animal product for that matter, and we are literally leaching calcium from our bones. That's why we don't gain much calcium from animal products. We actually lose calcium. In fact, the best thing for our bones is magnesium, and plants are loaded with magnesium in the right quantities, of course. So magnesium is what we need. We don't need magnesium supplements. We don't need any supplement for that matter. If we're eating whole foods, we don't need supplements. If we're eating whole foods, especially majority of our food coming from raw foods, especially grown ourselves veganically, with no animal inputs, no manure, animal manure, no blood meal, bone meal, feather meal, etc., we don't really have much to worry about. But if we're eating processed foods and we're eating foods that, and breads and cakes and things of that nature are processed, highly processed. I'm talking about whole foods, especially if they're eaten raw. So fruits and vegetables are preferable eaten raw. Fruits is number one, followed by vegetables, especially leafy greens, tender leafy greens. So when I was young, I used to eat a lot of chocolate. I was so addicted to it. And I ate so much that I would throw up. And I would be so sick from eating chocolate. Literally throwing up from eating chocolate. I would literally buy at least $50 up to $100 worth of chocolate every week. Literally spending, I don't know, a lot of my paycheck every week on chocolate. And I was so addicted that I would spend at least minimum of $50. I would buy milk chocolate. I would buy white chocolate. I would buy chocolate with nuts in it. And they especially had dairy products in them. And from that moment on, after, I don't know how long after, but I decided to stop consuming chocolate. I thought it was the cacao that was the problem. But I found out years and years and years later, actually being vegan, that I don't think it was so much the cacao that was the problem, even though it has theobromine in it, which is a neurotoxin. So neurotoxin is a brain toxin. It actually kills the cells in our brains, neurotoxin. So basically, it was the dairy that was the problem. So that's why I was throwing up so much, because I was eating so much dairy, of course, coupled with the theobromine, and that's not good at all. Now, I remember consuming the natural cacao right from the pod, how it grows on the tree, right from the pod. And that is totally different. And you can't overeat on cacao from the pod. Now it has a fruit, like a fleshy white substance around the seed, and then you eat the seed. Now the seed, some people say it's very bitter and they can't consume that. And for many people actually, it's true. Now I am able to consume cacao from the pod, but it is bitter though. And if you're not picking a ripe pod, then it's going to be extremely bitter and it's not going to taste good at all. Now, what you could do is you could take a ripe pod, cut it up lengthwise, and put the seeds, including the fruit, flesh of the fruit, into a blender, blend it up with fully ripe bananas. I'm talking about really spotty bananas, dark spotty bananas. Blend it up with many bananas or even some dates, but bananas is preferable. And you have chocolate pudding. You don't put any water, you don't put any liquid in there. You just put the cacao seeds with the fruit flesh and tons of bananas in there. And you, of course, make it however sweet or however less sweet you want it. So the more bananas you put in, of course, it'll be more sweet. So try one banana and keep adding in more bananas as you like until you have the sweetness that you like. And there you have the perfect, most unbelievable raw pudding that you ever had. And it's totally incredible. And if you cool it down, it could possibly be even a frosting. So that's a little bit about cacao. And I want to thank you for listening. And if you have anything you want to post down below. Oh, one other thing before that I just want to mention. Now, I don't know if it was the cacao or if it was generally the fruit I was eating. But basically, I sprained my ankle recently, like end of last year or this year. I can't remember when. But basically, I sprained my ankle and I was just walking normally. But the next day is when it actually started to hurt, like tremendously. So that afternoon, I was consuming, or that day I was consuming cacao and I was right from the pod, and also just generally I was eating fruit throughout the day. And I found that the next day my ankle was fully healed. It was a sprain, and my ankle was fully healed the next day. I was walking perfectly on it. And that's to show you. And I don't know, again, if it was just the cacao that healed it, or if it was just the fruit, or it was a little bit of combination of both. But maybe a combination of both, because I have a friend that also said that she heals her joint issues with cacao right from the pod. And I don't know. I don't know if it's from right from the pod. I think it's fermented. She buys it from someone. But in any case, she also mentioned that the cacao heals that. So it may be true that it is the cacao, but all I know is that it could be the cacao and or just generally eating fruit. And I was eating almost entirely fruit in my diet at that point. So that's the healing properties of true raw cacao and fruit, raw fruit, ripe fruit. So that's all I want to say. Please like this video, share it around with all your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my newsletter. Thanks for watching, listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye, everyone.